From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. I am your host, Patrick Berry, and today we're talking about one of my most favorite topics. It's electric vehicles. I'll be upfront with you. I have not purchased an electric vehicle yet. I have taken a baby step. I got a hybrid earlier in 2025, but that's one step towards getting an electrified household at my house. And I'm hoping you are considering the same because there's a lot of benefits to electric vehicles, but there are also some downsides. Today, we've got Sean Tully with us. He is the manager of electric mobility at Eversource, and we're here today to talk EVs. Sean, thank you so very much for joining me. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Patrick. Thanks for having me.
So I guess let me start with your role at Eversource and how that works with the electric vehicle world.
Sure, yeah. So I've been with Eversource for about 8 years, and I really started working in the electric vehicle space with our first program that was launched back in 2018, and that really primarily focused on public charging. You know, getting chargers out there in the places where people travel around the state to instill range confidence. The term used to be range anxiety, and I think
Absolutely.
we'll talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit. But I like to use the term range confidence to have people, out there, maybe they could easily install a charging station at their home, but at their place of business, places they travel around, they're going to need places to charge as well. So in addition to the some of the vehicle rebates and things like that through the state and the tax credits, which are changing at this time.
Right.
The state agencies and our regulator, the Mass Department of Public Utilities, really looked for us to, in addition to those vehicle incentives that are out there, have incentives for, our commercial customers to operate as site hosts that would be able to host publicly available charging stations throughout the Commonwealth. So that's grown since 2018 to today, where we have more robust programs and have some rebates and incentives not only for those commercial customers but also for residential customers as well to help on them on their EV journey and electrification
So
goals.
let's educate everyone about what an electric vehicle is, because there's multiple kinds. You talk about commercial vehicles, there's buses, there's trucks that are evolving, but from the homeowner side, what is available to a homeowner in an electric vehicle that y- I guess would replace a gas vehicle?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, just a few years ago when you talked about an EV, it was really like just a typical sedan or kind of,
Right.
coupe body style uh, passenger vehicle. And, now that's really grown to there's more SUV options, there's more, pickup truck options that are available that I think really a lot of people are looking for, when they make their next vehicle choice. But there really is kind of three separate groups. You have, well, if you're not using a traditional gas car, there's the hybrid, which the first one of those is really like like a Chevy Volt or a Prius, where
Right.
it was just using the braking resistance, to
To
charge
charge the battery,
a
right?
small battery that would help increase your fuel economy. So then the next step up to that is what's called a PHEV or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and that's what I have, and it's what a lot of people are doing is kind of like
That's my next
a
step.
best of both worlds. Where that then gives you the ability to have some range that can be electric only. So for me, it's a great option because I'm able to commute from my home to the office and back in a day with that EV range, and a lot of times the gas engine doesn't even turn on. I'm able to get back and forth and kind of run errands, solely on
And you
electric
never use
power.
a drop of gas.
Yeah, don't use a drop of gas for that trip. And so depending on the make model and how fast you're going, a lot of those things, you could get with some of these vehicles probably like 20 or 30 miles on electric only. And then, the ultimate is the battery electric vehicle. And so this is where it's solely electric motors and the battery to providing the propulsion and everything for the vehicle. There are some other options that are coming out. There's a few that are trying to blend in a little bit more flexibility and have what's called a range extender. So there are going to be some vehicles that are going to be coming out in the recent years that is a battery electric vehicle, but then has a gasoline, generator that
Hmm.
would help extend the range, through using gasoline. But that's a little bit of a different thing than a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, just to make people aware of.
This just came to mind, and is a hydrogen vehicle, where does that play a part in this?
Yeah,
Because
hydrogen.
hydrogen was
Yeah,
a lot of big talk, maybe a year or so ago, but I haven't heard much about it.
yeah, hydrogen vehicles. It's the fueling infrastructure. It can be very very complicated. There aren't
Oh,
a lot of hydrogen. There are even less
are there any?
hydrogen
Yeah.
filling stations, in our area. But and a hydrogen vehicle still uses electric motors, but it just uses that hydrogen to help generate the power for the uh, propulsion versus using the battery. Yeah.
So when looking at EVs, you kind of alluded to it earlier, the range anxiety. That was the term I used all the time. I've gotten away from that because the range is the range. I think it's more of the infrastructure, the charging anxiety, I think is really overtaking range anxiety. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, and there are more and more charging stations that are getting installed every day in the Commonwealth. Not only people are getting them at their homes, but also that what's a big barrier for a lot of people is that public charging network, the DC fast network that's on those large corridors
Hmm.
throughout the region. So there's a lot of plans that are going on with MassDOT for the NEVI program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, to get more of those chargers out there in the world. And then you have your kind of outside of that, your independent charging station operators like Electrify America,
Hmm.
EVgo, Tesla, the Tesla Supercharger Network, and even some OEMs now like Rivian,
What's
or
OEM?
original equipment manufacturers.
Okay,
So like the auto
gotcha.
manufacturers, are doing some of their own networks as well, like Rivian. And Mercedes and a few others are looking to do that, to get more charging out there for people to use.
And we're running out of time for this segment, but there was the folks in Detroit were working on in-road charging. Is that
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
even or is that just wishful thinking, or is that something that could possibly happen?
I don't want to rule anything. I don't think we're in a ruling anything out point at this time. It's still a very nascent market that we're working in here with developing, these charging station networks. So, it's an interesting demonstration project. I would like to, maybe combining it with the Lions game, would like to go check it out
There
because
you
I
go.
understand it's down near where they play, at Ford Field. But it would be, I think, hard and expensive to implement at any scale.
All right, we are ready for our first break. I'm with Sean Tully, the manager of electric mobility for Eversource, and we're talking EVs. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to today's edition of In Focus. We're talking about electric vehicles. I'm so honored to have Sean Tully with us. He is the manager of electric mobility at Eversource. The first segment, we talked really about just the overview. What are EVs? How are they charged? And that kind of thing. Let's get more into the nuts and bolts now, Sean, if we could, about purchasing an EV. If I'm in the market for an EV, are there resources that Eversource can offer me to help guide me through the process? Maybe like a checklist of things I need to remember and think about when purchasing an
Sure.
EV.
Yeah. So when you're looking to, purchase that new vehicle, I think a lot of people are familiar with like going to the dealer and kind of taking a test drive and kicking the tires and looking at some of those things. But something that's new is like, okay, how do I integrate this EV into my life? How am I,
Right.
I'm not unless you get like a plug-in hybrid where you are going to have a gas tank as well. If we're just talking about pure battery electric vehicles here, you are going to have to, because you won't have a gas station, you'll be able to do your refueling at home.
You don't have a home gas station.
Yeah,
You need
yeah,
a home charging station,
yeah,
though.
you need you want to get a charging station set up at your home. And the two things that I'd recommend for anybody to do is one, get in touch with your utility, either Eversource if you're an Eversource residential customer, or with National Grid or Unitil if you work for them and or live in their service
Right, right.
territory. And they have some incentives that can help you with the cost of installing that station at your home. The next thing to really do is, I think you'd want to get in touch with a licensed electrician, have them come over to your house and evaluate what it's going to take to install the charger. Some people have an outdoor outlet that they could use. So even if you do have a wall outlet that's next to your driveway or in your garage, uh, especially depending on the age of the house, I really would still recommend having a licensed electrician come out over and take a look at it, just to make sure that the wiring is in good shape and there isn't going to be any concerns there. Because these electric vehicles, they do draw a lot of power on an electrical circuit, and even at like a lower level 15 amps, depending on the age of the wiring, the duty cycle of electric vehicle is uh, pretty heavy compared to a lot of other appliances that you may use in your house. So just for safety, I think it would be good to go and have that evaluated, and then see what it would take even for like a level 1 or level 2 charger, to have that installed at your home.
But that's all part of the process, as if you would buy an electric vehicle or a gas vehicle. You want to know what the gas mileage is going to be, what the insurance is, all of that. You have to take into account a home charger as part of the expense of an EV. Looking at the expenses of an EV, the prices seem to have come down dramatically. Now they're really more on par with gas vehicles.
Yeah, for the initial purchase price, there are a lot of vehicles now that, are coming off of leases, maybe
Hmm.
for those folks that have
Right.
come off a lease there. So there is now a growing kind of secondary market for EVs, and there's some great options, out there. And something I think some people can be concerned about is like the battery degradation
Right,
of
right.
over time. But I think we're learning that a lot of these batteries are really pretty robust, and the usable range of the battery, even after a number of years, and what some people may consider relatively high mileage, is very small. Compared to what would be considered high mileage for a gas
Right.
vehicle.
Now, with some of those vehicles that are coming off lease or even new vehicles, I know, federal incentives, some are expiring, but some local ones are being created. And are there, what's the incentive program not like now if people want to buy an EV?
Yeah, there are we are at a time at the end of well, we're talking today, September 2025. There are some of the federal incentives that are going to be sunsetting, but there is still the more EV program. There's some state level incentives that are available for the vehicle. And then also the utilities, Eversource does have residential programs that can help on that upfront wiring cost, and buying the EVSE, or charging station,
Right.
EVSE, electric vehicle supply equipment, as it's sometimes called, but that's maybe
I
a little
always make sure
technical term.
people
Yeah,
tell us what the
the
acronyms
acronyms
mean.
are,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah. Need to let people know about the acronyms. Yeah, but that can help with the charging stations. And then if you do live in a apartment building, condo building, and where you park is more of a multi-family, mine's setup. There is commercial programs available as well that we
Okay.
can wire up a bunch of chargers and
But do the research. If you're interested, go online to Eversource or whatever your utility is, talk to the dealers, because there could be rebates out there. For whatever reason, you could be new EV owner rebates or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and a lot of dealers are able to really talk about, depending on the make of the vehicle. There are certain manufacturers that are now bundling in, helping provide an electrician. A bunch of these vehicle manufacturers have partnered with a company called
Hmm.
Q-Merit. And Q-Merit, can come out to your house and help, and sometimes uh, depending on the complexity, have some complementary, wiring of the home. So there are some of these offers that are out there as well that, you might be able to take advantage of.
So what would you say, like for me, I love the concept of an EV. I mentioned that earlier. What would my first step be if I'm in the process of buying a new car? What's my first step? Should I be at the dealer lot? Should I be going online? Should I be talking to my electrician? What is the first step I should be doing?
Well, if you've never driven an electric vehicle, I would really recommend like going and taking one for a test drive. It's a
Is
very
it different?
it is different. One of the things that I've noticed in driving electric vehicles, especially if you're driving for long distances, you're on the highway, they tend to be quieter. You don't have that engine. So I tend to not get as fatigued when I'm taking long trips
Hmm,
when I'm in an electric vehicle versus my loud Jeep, which has the soft top and everything. So go take one for a test drive. Another thing that I think you'd want to really think about is, what are your driving habits?
okay.
Do you just really kind of drive, stay around your community? What does your local commute look like? How often do you take long trips? And what is your charging habits going to look like? One of the advantages of having an electric vehicle, one of the questions I get is like, well, how long does it take to charge? When I pull into my driveway, it
Yeah.
takes me 2 seconds to charge. I
Really?
get out of my car, I
Oh,
plug it
not to
in.
charge the battery, but to
My
hook up the
time,
charger.
my time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll pull in my driveway, plug in, and then I'm able to go in my house, start cooking dinner. Visit with my family, that evening, and get started with my night. And you don't have to make that other trip to a gas station or
Right.
refuel. You can refuel every night, and so that's really what you want to focus on and think about is that daily range replenishment. So a lot of these different vehicles come with different levels of battery, and you don't want to get a bigger battery really maybe than what you need. It can help keep the cost of the vehicle down by right sizing that to your needs.
Are the batteries I think of batteries in electric vehicles like batteries in cell phones. You're not supposed to charge it to 100% every single time. Are EVs the same way?
Yeah, depending on the make, and the battery. So there are several different battery chemistries that different manufacturers use. I would refer to the owner's manual. Talk to the dealer about how you can charge it. Some will recommend like only charging it to like 80%, and then saving that last 20% to when you're going on longer trips. Then
Okay.
you charge it up to
Right.
100%, and you'll be able to go. Some vehicles have it in kind of how it operates. It'll only charge up
Oh,
to like
interesting.
what's the recommended usable range of the battery. But there are certain battery chemistries where it is better to charge it to 100% all the time. So again, nascent market, a lot of these things are coming out, but the dealer should be able to answer some of those questions for you.
All right, we need
Yeah.
to take our second break. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Patrick Berry. I am the host of InFocus, and today we are talking about the world of electric vehicles. I've got Sean Tully. He is the manager of electric mobility with Eversource. We've already covered pretty much everything you want to know about owning an EV, but there's still a lot to talk about. And last thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, Sean, is a few things we glossed over earlier: costs and how to charge. So let's start with how to charge first. You mentioned different levels of charging, and you wouldn't, in the last part of the conversation, you said, you pull into your house, it takes you 2 seconds to hook up, and it charges overnight. What type of charging is that? Is that like my standard wall outlet that I plug into, which is what, 110? Or do I need something a little bit with more juice, like my dryer or stove that's 220?
Yeah, yeah.
Or is it something even more than that?
Yeah, so there are different levels of charging. There's level one, which is your
Hmm.
standard wall outlet that you
Right.
mentioned. Level two that's like your dryer plug. It's 220 outlet, And then there's the DC fast charger. So level 1 and level 2 is AC, alternating current, and DC is direct current. It's really pushes that energy a lot quicker into the battery, and is for those longer highway trips when you need to, charge your battery from maybe like 20% to 80% state of charge in like sub hour. But again, getting back to daily range replenishment, most people, the average commute in Massachusetts is about 25 miles.
Yeah, it's about my
Um,
daily commute,
yeah,
25
yeah.
miles.
So most people, with a level 2 charger, that will replenish that range if they have some place to plug in every night in about 2 hours. For a 40 amp level 2 charger. So that's what we really would recommend for a lot of folks to install. If you have a plug-in hybrid, if you take a few trips in the morning, come home, you'll be able to, like, then in an hour be able to have that battery full again, be able to do some other travel around in the afternoon. And then with the size of the battery and some of the larger battery electric vehicles, you can certainly have enough to charge overnight if you're coming home with like maybe 30-40% state of charge.
So a home charger is a device that's mounted, like, if you have a garage, inside your garage or outside your garage, something like that. It's not like your standard plug that like you're on the end of your vacuum that you plug your blender, you plug into the wall, right? Something completely different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the level 2 chargers, my recommendation would definitely be have it be hardwired in. So again, working with a licensed electrician, just have that wired in for safety. That would be the most economical way to do it, is to charge at home. The DC fast chargers, just because of the level of power and the complexity, and there's some added costs there. So it is always going to be cheaper, for you to charge at home. And based on, a 25 mile per gallon car, kind of average mile
Mhm.
per gallon, it is going to be about half the cost to charge at home,
So
based on the efficiencies of the different energy
right.
that you're
So
using
if I own an EV and I've got a home charger installed, it's about half the price of filling up
per
for
per mile.
per
Yeah,
mile. Well,
yeah, yeah.
okay,
The
so half,
cost per
basically
mile.
half the
Yeah,
price than filling up at my local gas station, once or twice a week, whatever I need.
yeah,
That's a huge savings. That
yeah.
adds
About
up.
50% reduction. Yeah.
So some of the initial costs if you're buying an EV that might be maybe the one you're looking at is a little bit more expensive than the equivalent gas, and then the installation of the home charger, those things might be a little bit more at the upfront end. But I mean, God, I own a car that's 19 years old. That's gonna pay back in spades. But yeah, the longer you own a car, the more cost effective it becomes,
Yeah,
basically.
yes, as you have it for a few years, there can pencil out, and depending on your driving habits and things like that, of course. But
Let's talk a little bit about driving habits. We live here in New England. All right. I've heard that places like New England, where we have very cold winters, in the desert Southwest, where we have very hot summers, they can tax the battery because the systems of the car, the air conditioning or the heat, draw a lot of battery power. Is that true, or is that just it
Ye-
draws power from a gas car too?
yes, yeah, yeah. And in an electric vehicle, you are also using that battery to heat or cool the cabin, and also, sometimes to heat or cool the battery. The
Oh,
battery
right.
likes to be a certain temperature, just to make sure that operates at its best efficiency. So, there is a little bit of degradation of range, or effect on the range if it's really cold. So that can be about 20% of the range. But if you have a very, you know 200-mile range, that won't have much impact on your kind of day-to-day driving.
So when it comes to the day to day, yeah, in a two-car household, would your recommendation be, one is your basic around town, your commuter car, and then keep another one, if you're consistently doing long trips. So here we are in Western New England. I've got a sister who lives, in the Baltimore, Washington area. I can't get there on a full charge. So for somebody who's doing longer trips, does it make sense to have in a two-car household, one EV, one gas?
For some people, that can be a good solution. Um, y- you know, I think the charging infrastructure is getting better and better
Hmm.
every day, especially between on the East Coast, between Boston and getting down to the DC area. There are a lot of installations that are going in on those major corridors. You see announcements with companies like Apple Green and
Right.
different folks that are partnering with the state transportation authorities. So those service plazas are getting more charging
And
installed
faster.
and faster.
Right.
Yeah, the charging. When I first started back in 2018, we thought 50 kilowatt DC fast charging was great. Now, we're getting close to 350
Wow.
350 kilowatts. So it's a lot of power. It can help charge vehicles very, very quickly, which is great. So, and typically, if you're traveling around and you stop at a DC fast station, you're going to stop for maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. So if you're going to want to stop, especially if you have kids in the car, I'm
Yeah.
sure you know what that's like.
Stretch your
Stop.
legs. Exactly.
Yep. Use the rest.
Snacks,
Use snacks.
diaper change, whatever it might
Yeah,
be.
exactly. Take a break. Use the restroom. That's some time that you'll be able to
Right.
recharge the battery and continue on your way.
If folks want to go to the Eversource website to learn more, what's the website?
www.eversource.com. If you are Eversource customer, yeah, we have a lot of great programs available. We also have some proposals in with our regulators now for managed charging programs. That will be able to help people charge at off-peak hours. Off of the electrical system peak. That there'll be some support there. And then if you live in a multifamily, building, we have some support and some incentives available for those. So make sure you talk to your condo board or your property manager, and we have some support for them.
Fantastic. Sean Tully, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Good chatting with you.
Great. Good to see you, Patrick. Thanks.